Hello. In a generation that grew up with Goku, excessively jacked Marvel heroes looking up to Arnold Schwarzenegger, the jacked physique easily adopted itself as the standard of aesthetics for men. But when it came to the Warriors arena, it's almost as if that world did not care what you looked like. Fedor Emelianenko having a dad bod, the undefeated Tyson Fury sometimes bragging about not even training for his opponents, Roy Nelson, Daniel Cormier, Mark Hunt. Even if you look at Kelvin Gastelum's slight dad bod, look at that. Look at the way his gut vibrates. It's like he's feeding Vitor Belfort last night's steak and potatoes, and it's putting Vitor into a food coma. It was a joke, Kelvin, please, I'm not hungry. But yeah, what could be contributing to this? To understand what, we must first look at what combat is. Robin Black, in an interview with Dr. David Klonsky, expressed that the game itself was 90% mental, and I agree. It is an art and a science, and to that end, I believe the mind, especially in a world ruled by weight divisions, is the most important tool a warrior can possess, and that can be true regardless of what you look like. Fedor and Tyson Fury are perfect examples of this, where these men who defied the Marvel superhero image of strength would straight up destroy people by mostly just being on another level mentally. It's the martial arts philosophy of old, mind to technique, overwhelming strength. But now if we were to look at that 10%, specifically, punching power, a lot of these guys have devastating hands. Could their fatness somehow be increasing their overall force? The answer is yes, and to understand how, we must look into how their kinetic chain is different. We understand that delivering force through a punch is essentially efficiently transferring mass as fast as possible through that fist. And so when it comes to having a large gut, we should look at that gut as an easy to access source of mass to transfer into your fist. It's right above the feet and hips, the source of initial momentum for the kinetic chain, and as the body pivots, that large gut's distribution on the center line just above the hips makes it an easy to access source of mass. It simplifies timing your hands with your overall mass, essentially. Fighters who do not have a gut, say because they are taller or more muscular despite being in the same division, of course they can deliver just as much force, but there is definitely more finesse required in the way their brains communicate with their bodies. Taking their more balanced distribution of mass and trying to articulate the body as fluidly and as harmoniously as possible to that end goal. Conor McGregor is a perfect example of that. His loose body, thus fluid kinetic chain, and through it, even the slightest pivot timed perfectly with his blinding hand speed can devastate his opponents. Tyron Woodley does it perfectly with his overhand, especially in his KO versus Robbie Lawler. Manny Pacquiao, his whole body from the ground up, each step bursts his mass slightly forward, to which he times his fist perfectly. A member of this community, Itai, does it perfectly here. It's all about brain-muscle communication to fluidly have the body snap in harmony towards that end goal. Bruce Lee reinforces this exact same understanding as well.
I mean, you gotta put the whole hip into it and snap it and get all your energy in there.
And so depending on the individual style and what they want to accomplish, it's a matter of a little more work, really, or at least I believe. Quickly looking into a side note, excessive weight training, especially through hypertrophy-oriented regimens, can stiffen up the kinetic chain, locking up potential force from being delivered. And, you know, if you're in the same weight division and you're fat, you probably won't have that problem because you're compensating for having less muscle with fat, I guess. But I'm sure we all know that by now. And so before I finish off this segment, I want to address a facet of the mind that aids in a fat fighter's fluid kinetic chain. When you grow up in a culture that essentially shames people for being fat, I believe two things can happen. That person either becomes very insecure and hides it, thus has a brain filled with negative emotions that ends up hiding themselves, chained up in anxiety, or they become desensitized to the opinions of others and simply do not care. Not caring about what others think of you is an incredibly powerful tool, especially when it comes to delivering force. How? When you can run out in the middle of a spotlight, not give a damn about a massive social stigma, being fat, you're just comfortable owning your own skin. You've reinforced your capacity to remain calm under pressure, to be confident even when the cards are said to be against you. That mitigates cortisol production and thus naturally fluidity remains. And amongst the fatty power punchers, I can definitely see and feel that. An air of not giving a damn whilst having their intention to win remain. I think overcoming that obstacle, developing that resilience, that strength, is an incredibly beautiful thing. And to that end, let this be a lesson to all of us, regardless of if you're in shape, jacked, a fatty, or whatever. If you can let go of what people think of you, disregard their negative judgments, and just work, trusting, believing in who you are, in your hands, you may find more power than anyone else ever expected. This extends beyond fighting. This is a philosophy for life. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Please don't forget to like and subscribe if you did. It's good karma. And until next time, peace.